Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Peter Terzop, and I got the issue come up again about experiences and academic quality and how we use these in colleges. And the problem always comes down to, I've done videos on this before, so I want to make that clear, but basically what I try to tell people is the academics is what really drives things here. If this was about experiences, then none of us would have to read books and research or do any type of studying because we already know everything. And that obviously is not the case. So what I suggest to people is taking the time to try to figure out how to balance our experiences with the academics, meaning we want to write paragraphs and the Goldilocks effect of 4 to 6 sentences, and we want to cite things in these paragraphs. But when we cite something that's academic, meaning we take the idea from someone else and we cite it in proper documentation like APA, then we develop after it. Why is this important to cite? Then we can maybe bring in some experiences or things of that nature to expand upon it. So, for example, we may say, in this leadership style, the following things happen, and then we cite, period, and then we go on to the next sentence, like, oh, by the way, this is what this means, or here's an example of what's going on. And that could be a way of demonstrating knowledge and understanding. Oftentimes, though, we have students that sit there and say, well, I basically know everything, and you should appreciate that, and that I don't really need to look up things because I have experience. And that experience overrides anything I can learn in the school. Which then brings the question is, if you know everything and you already have the experience, then, why get the degree? And that's right, because it's important. And the degree opens up doors, and it helps open up opportunities and things like that, especially in management, leadership, and things like that. Having said that, it's not the degree that does it. It's the process of getting the degree that does it. And a lot of people miss that. It's about learning how to write better. It's learning how to research better, how to analyze more effectively. That's what's important, okay? The degree confirms that, okay? If it was just a piece of paper that got you there, we would take it and put in a Xerox machine and push copy, make 200 or 300 copies, and then we'd have an orientation day where we put your name there, hand it to you, and say, okay, now listen, this is what this means. Okay, you have a degree, and you paid me $10,000 for that, and it's just a piece of paper that says that you have a degree. Obviously, that's silly, and that's not what happens. So it's not about checklisting off some classes and trying to figure out the bare minimum you can do. It's about really taking opportunities to expand your knowledge, which is really a critical aspect, obviously, of courses, but the 3 skills. And you typically get those 3 skills out of every class. How do you research better, write better, and analyze? And that's really what drives this whole thing. So when I hear students tell me, well, this is what happens here, and this professor and that professor, well, that gets back into the video. I talk about the ex video, the ex-spouse or ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, depending on what you date or who you date. Nobody wants to hear about that, okay? So if you want to talk about other professors, then go take their class. At the end of the day, that's what you need to do. But that's right, you have to take other classes with other people. So if I have hundreds of students and they all have diverse and wonderful and different perspectives, and I celebrate that, and I think that's a good thing, then that also applies to professors. They can't all grade the same way, nor should they. I use a lot of videos. I'm just simply putting bare basic minimum down. I mean, they do the basics. So if you don't like how that works, then you probably are, don't be a student like that, okay? If you like professors that give you a lot of feedback, you should encourage that. You may not like what they're saying, but they're spending the time to say, this is what you need to do. I'm spending the time, and probably more time than I should, trying to show you that. We'll celebrate that, get into that, really latch on to that. So one of the favorite comments I always get, well, I've taken so many courses and all my other professors have never said anything. I hate to say it, but maybe they don't care as much. Maybe they just want a paycheck. Maybe they just want to sit there and not have any complaints. And I hate to say that, and it's not 100% accurate for every professor. I like to believe most professors work hard and do a good job, but there are some that really don't care, just like there are students who don't care. So the key here is yes, are there bad professors? Yes. Are there bad students? Yes. Okay, but that doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. What matters is what you're doing with your education. You want to be a checklist student? I have a video on that. Just do the bare minimums and checklist. The professor can checklist back. If you get a professor that doesn't push you, make you write with good grammar and research and do things, then good for you. If that's what you want and you want to get that and you get an easy A, congratulations, you've achieved what you want. But when you look back at that class, you'll take nothing from it. Okay? There will be nothing of value or worth from that class because you probably didn't study hard, you probably didn't really make an effort. It really didn't matter because you were going to get an A. And that is not the sign of a good course and not a good professor and all these things. So what you want is you want to be pushed and challenged, and you should want to do that yourself. If you want to expand those skills, you need to push those skills. So because when you get in the real world, it's going to come back to you. For example, I had a student, and I tell this story sometimes about she had been busted for plagiarism, and I won't use any names, so there's no FERPA issues. But what happened is that because she was busted, and we worked through it, and we took over a month to get her really comfortable with writing, she went to a job, and she was in a job that she'd been in, and she was looking at being on a team. And on this team, one of the other people had basically plagiarized work that they had found in order to do a presentation to the owner of the company. And she said, that's not right. And she basically stood her ground and said, I'm not going to be part of this because this is cheating. I know because this doctor back at the school I went to, can't remember his name, but he, you can't do this, okay? Sure enough, the paper that this person stole actually was the owner of the company who wrote a paper years before. And so when it all came out, that person was fired for cheating, basically lying, presenting someone else's work as their own. And this student who stood her ground actually got the job promoted and all that. So I can't take 100% credit because there were other professors probably involved with this process. But I do know she called me and expressed that those comments to me about how that was a defining moment in her life, that she didn't like the feedback, but it defined who she was moving forward. And that's really why most people teach, because they want those defining or big critical moments that change the lifetime of someone in a positive way. So having said that, is it important to have experiences? Yes. We all have them. Yours are no better than mine. I hate to say that, but that's the truth of life. And just because you earned them this way and I earned them that way doesn't make yours any better or worse, okay? The key is, how are you presenting them? How are you writing them, researching them, analyzing? How are you mixing them together, synthesizing them? How do all these things come together? That's what's important. And that's where you need to be. So if there's anything I can ever do in this with this education channel or in the classes, always feel free to drop me a line. I want that very clear because I really love what I do and I want people to see it and feel it. And if I have to call, videos, email, whatever, but I want you to have all the time to be successful. It doesn't mean you get a grade. It doesn't mean I give you the grade. It means you earned it and that I respect that. So I appreciate that and best of luck.